I drive my car up to the lake as if there's someone to awake. I haven't been to bed for days, I live in a twilight haze. And I set my heart to the setting sun, and I hope that no one else has done it. And the drinks are never far, open up the bar. I miss you every single day. I wait until it's not your way. I hate the way I'm straight.
So your question is basically, what's this all about?
Yeah.
Why are we sitting here? It's just an elaborate hoax, an elaborate trick to kind of make you feel like you're not in your body. Which is kind of what you do with your baking, right? This is basically, so, you know, with a coffee shop, you get a bit of a culture, you get a bit of a community going, and it's kind of just naturally occurs depending on the location and all that type of thing. So, we with the different lockdowns and stuff, you know, business has been struggling. So we thought essentially, and I did watch too much Joe Rogan.
Yeah, great.
So I don't know how people will feel about that. But, and then it was just like, hey, we could do something like that. And I watched a bunch of different ones, and I noticed, you know, they were filming them. They were putting them on YouTube, and they were just checking, sorry, the camera. That's all good. Yeah. They've got kind of interesting things to look at, and I thought, we've kind of got this.
Yeah,
we've got
absolutely.
like a little stage. We have that already, and people come in, and I kind of realised it was sort of already happening with the different conversations that we have with people every day. So then it was just a case of drawing a few other things together. Like, I know there's a few other business people around the central business district that are struggling, and they always have been, probably before COVID, just with the rebuild. And that community is generally kind of drawn together through kind of structured ways, like there's little council groups and stuff like that, and that's good, but I kind of like this grassroots sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where it's just...
Yeah.
Oh, that was the door.
That's right. That sounds awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
You definitely... I can see that when I sit in cafes, and I will sit there for longer than half an hour, you know, do a bit of work.
That's right.
It kind of turns into its own little film where you see people come and go, conversations come and go, and this development of the day.
Well, you were coming in on, like, seriously, the first few weeks that we opened.
Yes.
Spying those cannellis.
That's how I found you out.
and probably the only person that bought them for quite some time.
No, I would have bought more if I knew.
Just go and get some flour.
Oh, yeah.
You go for it. Do the limbo.
Yep.
Milton will be back in 30 minutes. I found you out because I had just come back from a trip overseas, and it was my first year of chef school. I went overseas, ate as much as I could, and I found cannelli back in France, which is where I'm from. And I never had them there as a kid. No. But I had them as an adult, and I was like, man, these are good. And I just quickly Googled when I came back, like, where can I get these in Christchurch?
and we weren't the only ones, I don't think, making them.
You were the best ones making them, for sure. Like, you had the best ones. There were a few other people doing it, but I definitely was like, these look amazing, I need to try them. And I did, and they were honestly better than the ones I was eating in France. So that sold me on you. I was like, right, this is my local now, even though it's so far away from where I am. Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing about cannellis is they're kind of quite complex, right?
Absolutely.
And I think if they were kind of more simple, you wouldn't perhaps put the research into it to find out all of the... Because it's kind of like looking at a really... like a puzzle.
Totally.
And then it's kind of like, if I do this, this happens, and if I do that, that happens. And potentially that kind of draws you into it more.
100%. I actually... I often think about what if I had to hire someone to help me at my work.
Yes.
And
they would think you were crazy, Corentin.
Yeah, they would. And I actually, one of the biggest things I think is sometimes I'm baking 30 cannoli instead of 15, so I'll just turn the temperature up 10 degrees, keep it in 2 minutes longer, but then I know that on the end of that scale I'll bake it 5 minutes. Like, how do you explain that to someone?
Yeah.
It
No, I know.
It's so intuitive the more you do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Kind of intuitive, a little bit of fantasy in there as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of like, is this going to work? Is this not going to work? Yeah.
Yeah. I've got...
but there's a kind of a logic that kind of does exist, I think.
Yeah, totally... It's an
intuition.
equation. It's an equation.
Right.
Yeah, that you have to intuitively play around with.
Yeah, so the cannoli. And then, man, I wonder... Because I tell you what, my son became a little bit obsessed with them. And he was... 4 when we opened this place up, maybe even only 3. But boy, he still talks about them. And we haven't made them for a while, obviously, because we couldn't really find the customers to buy them.
Totally, yeah.
But I'm going to have to get some off you for him, because
please.
he sort of asked me about it. And I was kind of surprised that he would be into them, because the flavour, once again, isn't your typical kind of thing.
But it is simple and it's complex. Often people ask me why I love to actually make them so much, and for me it's like, I kind of describe it the closest thing I can do to a magic trick. Like, this simple batter becomes all these different flavours and textures just depending on the process, and that is so exciting for me. Like, it becomes this crispy shell and this like soft custardy inside, and I'm like, how do you do that out of just a pancake batter, basically?
Yeah. That's very true. I haven't really thought about that. So that was early days at Pilgrim. And I don't know. And then, just many kind of little themes that come into creating this podcast. I mean,
very cool.
It's, and hopefully it will develop that community more, and it will give people perhaps a voice. I don't even know whether people want a voice. I don't even know if I want a voice, but
you do now.
But then I was kind of like, well, maybe if it's going to draw more people to Pilgrim, if it's going to promote other people's businesses and things like that. So
I think it's really cool to be collaborative. Like, Christchurch, in my opinion, has a very unique hospitality scene where people are collaborative and do support each other and aren't afraid to stick their neck out to put other people forward. Whereas I see it, generally speaking, in other cities in New Zealand, it's a lot more competitive and a lot more cutthroat, and I don't see a lot of businesses push other businesses forward within the industry.
That's very true. I think sometimes we have a big talk and we say, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and just time slides by and not much happens. And that's why I kind of jumped into this perhaps too quickly.
I think that's the only way to start something.
But it is going to be fun.
Absolutely.
So you've got your cannolis. I saw on the website you're going to be introducing a Christmas
I'm going to
themed menu.
But it kind of was a project I started because I wanted to make whatever I wanted to make and see if people bought it. And it worked. And then I got so busy with just admin and finding a kitchen, and now I'm sourcing ingredients, and I do my own marketing, my social media, my photography, I do everything.
Which is exceptional. It puts everyone else to shame.
Well, I don't know.
In a good way for you.
Maybe. It doesn't grant me a lot of hours of sleep.
It's amazing.
Thank you. It's kind of... I just decided from the start, and I've talked to you about this, I'm going to be time rich, money poor, so I decided if I can do it, I'm going to do it, but I can't wait to get to a point where I'm outsourcing that kind of stuff and I can really focus on the kitchen. So being so busy with all the admin side of things actually meant that my menu became very, I don't want to say stagnant, but it became strong and it became its own thing. And then originally I wanted to change the whole menu every month.
Right.
But the reality is that that doesn't work really well. It takes so long to develop recipes, and also people kind of want some regular items they can come back to. But I've used Christmas as a way to... I'm only one person, and I can't really do many specials on top of my existing menu because it's already keeping me busy enough. So the gamble was, do I do one special and just hope it works, or do I just do what I've always wanted to do, which is can the whole menu for a month, do whatever I want for Christmas, and then we'll kind of get back to normal the next year. And I think that's more exciting for everyone involved.
Because you're delivering the food as well, right?
Yeah.
So that is pretty intense, man.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. Delivery is probably not my favourite part. I like meeting people and talking to them, and I actually get a lot excuse me, I get a lot of my feedback from that, which is really nice.
Yeah.
But it takes me out of the kitchen, and it means less time to be like... I always feel quite rushed.
Yeah.
Because I get into the work in the morning, do my prep, and then I have to just get ready for deliveries all day, and then I do deliveries, and then it's day's over.
Full on.
Yeah.
So do you, with the whole Christmas thing, where have you drawn your inspiration from? Obviously Christmas.
It's definitely... I think this actually relates to the cannelie. We've talked before about how the hardest part about the cannelie is that you have to educate people about what it is, because it's quite a foreign food here.
Yes.
And it looks a bit intimidating. It looks burnt. It looks like, I spend a lot of time and money on copper molds getting them that colour. But so many people say they're burnt.
Yeah. And and the one thing that people always would refer to them as caramel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which, I don't know, I suppose there's a caramelisation thing going on.
Yeah, it definitely can. That's how you get that texture and that flavour. But I think part of the job of having canneliers for me was like, right, I've got to educate people, and I spend a lot of time on my social media explaining how I make them, how I bake them, why they're that colour. Yeah.
That's super smart.
Well, it gets people involved, but I think my Christmas menu is going to be similar. I'm drawing on a little bit of French tradition, and there's going to be like a bûche de Noël, which is like a Yule log, which when I was a kid at Christmas, it was just like rough sponge cake, buttercream rolled up, frozen with little like meringue mushrooms and like chocolate Christmas trees, and it was corny, but you have it every Christmas, and so I wanted to riff on that. And,
brilliant.
And the whole point of butter is French traditional inspired food, but New Zealand ingredients. So Christmas is going to be very that. Yeah,
I love Christmas, and I love the spices and the alcohol and the baking. Yeah, I think that's there's a lot of magic happens right there, and even I don't know Easter to a certain degree. We've got a few things around that, and we would always make a couple of Christmas puddings and then have one at Easter.
Cool.
So save one, which is always good. But I have like I've done my Christmas puddings this year.
Nice.
During the lockdown.
Yeah, of course.
Which was brilliant because normally it's December, mid-December, and I'm like, I'll do those Christmas puddings. Yeah. So that was handy, but. No, I love Christmas puddings, that dense fruit kind of flavour. And no matter how many times I make them, although I tend to play with the recipes all of the time, it comes out different, and I'm always learning kind of more things. Yeah, so it's...
But then there's that whole juxtaposition in New Zealand where we've got all this Christmas food that's like warm, hearty, preserved. It's all fruits. But it's all winter food, and we're eating it in the height of summer at the beach. And I kind of find that I find it a bit hilarious. And but then we have an answer to that, which is the pavlova, which I love. I think, we definitely... That's kind of more fresh fruit, fresh cream, everything kind of chills you out on a hot day, and it's the opposite of the Christmas pudding, which is really dense, rich, spicy, warm. Yeah. There would be some people that would just place them in the same bowl. Some people.
But who knows? Let's not go there. I've never done that.
I bet.
Nah. I try to keep it, with my Christmas pudding, I try to keep it pretty, minimum. Yeah. The brandy sauce sometimes, just a plain sauce sometimes.
That's great.
Yeah. Wow. So you've got this little menu, and so you've kind of created a foundation, which isn't, it can feel perhaps a little bit like, I've been, doing this forever or whatever. Yeah. But in actual fact, it provides a good foundation for you to kind of springboard off of, and you can safely return to it.
Absolutely.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's a classic dessert menu. Like, there's something chocolate, something fruit, something citrus. Like, it's definitely considered. And at one stage, I thought, oh man, it's getting a bit boring and stagnant. But after getting past that phase, I realised, well, people keep ordering stuff and people come back for things. So it actually means that they're just good items that deserve to stay on the menu. It doesn't...
Good point. Yeah.
So I'm now more excited about getting my head around this staple menu and to keep that trucking along, but I want a little bit more space to be able to do specials on top of that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, sweet. Same thing here. We sort of have those staple items and then mix it up every so often.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that reflects people's buying habits as well, because we like to go to things that are comfortable, that we know, and then occasionally we buy the random thing.
Something completely different.
Yeah, which we immediately regret.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or why didn't I?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think people really love, people will have, I mean, not everyone just shops from one place, right? And so I think that's why there's a lot of space for collaboration.
Yes.
But some people will be like, oh, I go to Butter because that's like the best lemon tart, you know? Yeah. Then other people will go, oh, that's the best chocolate tart. But people want to think that each place has one thing that's the best. Mm-hmm. So I definitely think I don't get a lot of customers that buy everything. I get a lot of customers that just buy the same thing. Because in their head, they'll be like, "This, I go to Butter for this item."
Yes.
Absolutely fine by me.
Yeah.
But it makes canning that whole menu during the whole of December a bit scary as well. But it's the whole point of Butter is just to experiment and see what people want, and
then when it comes back in the new year, people will enjoy seeing that old friend again.
Absolutely.
They'll be like, Cannelese, I've missed you.
Yeah, and January is usually quite quiet, so it'll be nice to go back to something familiar and get people back on board. Yeah. True. Are
you going to take a break after?
I'm going to play it by ear. I'm just going to try and chill out for a couple of weeks. I've not had...
That sounds like a no.
It's a no.
Going to be fixing the car.
I keep telling myself that I can keep doing what I'm doing the way I'm doing it till Christmas, and then I know I'm going to run out of steam. So I think when things naturally peter out, I'll just keep trucking along quietly and take the odd day off. But it's first year of business. I'm pretty happy to do what it takes.
Sounds like a no to me as well.
Yeah. Are you guys going to take a break?
Active relaxer, that's what they call it.
Yeah.
We'll be taking like 3 weeks off.
Oh, dream. Yeah. Can I come?
We can't go anywhere.
That's true. Yeah, what will you do with your time off?
Well, possibly go to the Marlborough Sounds.
Nice.
That's often on the kind of list. So that collaboration thing is interesting. And it is really important for small businesses and stuff to kind of be open to that, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it is intimidating when you hear about competition or someone that's doing something, and I think it's quite scary, but I've done my best to be really open with what people might perceive as competition for me, and I'm friendly and collaborate and always I like to start a conversation, because at the end of the day I'm in business to learn more about the craft. That's all I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
And so, although I do need to make money and run a business, and there is an edge of competition, I feel confident that what I do is what I love, and I'll back it up. And so, I try and not see other people as competition, and just I try and create a bit of a community around. Yeah,
I've probably
pastry chefs.
I've probably told you before. There's that whole idea of, you want to be the leader of something. And if people copy you, well, that's fine. It's not fine, but it's better to be the leader rather than be the one who's doing the copying, right?
Absolutely.
So it's kind of, you've got nothing to lose, but it's difficult being at that, at the front and sort of breaking the new ground all of the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's where collaborations can come in handy. If you don't have fear towards your fellow man, you can.
There's plenty of shops to go around, plenty of people to, like I said, people go to different places for different things.
Yeah. I'm going to grab a coffee. Milton, can you check the filter? Did it actually switch on?
Yep, looks like.
Sweet. It's a Kenyan coffee.
Oh, so delicious.
It's going to be real good.
I'm going to grab that.
We've got new cups.
Oh, nice. Oh, they're cute.
Do you want to have a tea?
What have you got planned for today, Corentin, after this?
I'm actually straight into the kitchen. Thank you so much. I've said yes to making 2 different croquembouches this week.
Oh.
And I can't say that I'm confident at making croquembouche, so it'll be quite an interesting learning curve this week, so I'm going into prep for that, and for the rest of my week, Tuesday I usually do my groceries and get everything sorted.
Yeah, nice. So that was the process we did with our cannelés as well.
Yeah, you got to throw yourself in the deep end.
Up so many times.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now we're, like, pretty confident with it.
Yeah, I think the trick's to not go in cold, and that's actually what I heard a pastry chef say on some TV show. You don't want to sell your first croque en bouche at a wedding if you don't know how to make a croque en bouche.
Yeah,
But if you start, you won't learn till you start selling them. So I've just started saying yes to a couple of orders for like birthday parties and things like that, and just see how it goes.
Yeah, that's full on.
But that's what I'm doing today. That's
the old mistakes and gee.
Thank you so much for the coffee. It smells amazing.
I'm pretty sure it's a Kenyan one.
How high are you going to pile up your croque en bouche?
So I bought a croque en bouche cone rather than building it freestyle, which I did a trial last week and it just stuck and it did not work. So I'm going to build it on the inside of the cone rather than the outside. So it's not going to be very big. It's going to be about this big.
You're right. So it's a little bit more compacted.
Yeah, I mean, it has to stay up. That's the hard part, right? And I think, I didn't realise this till Alex at Gathering said, if you do sell them, people will be so impressed because everyone's watched MasterChef and everyone's watched them collapse so many times that they know how hard it is to do. Yeah. So I think it'll be a good flex.
Is it something to do with Christmas?
No. It's usually in France it's a celebration cake. You see it at weddings and things like that.
Yeah. That is intense. Have you made one before, Milton?
Yeah, I made one at Polytech.
Yeah, cool.
I'm sure it was pretty average, but got this sort of base structure.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Yeah, it's pretty fun to make. It's cool when you've done it and it's sitting there. It's a nice feeling.
It's the same thing that put me off cakes. It's that I love the baking and stuff. I don't love the structural engineering. Like that's not what I'm in it for. But a croque en bouche is all about that. So I'm going to have to work it out.
Because you're more technique.
It's called It translates to crunch in your mouth. Yeah. Because the caramel hopefully stays crispy.
Yeah. Gee.
Yeah.
That's probably a nightmare in itself.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
I'm telling myself.
Just bringing in my regular old pessimism there.
No, I'm the same. I've been thinking about it all week, and we'll have to see how it goes.
I'm just making a nut butter.
Yum.
With friands.
Oh, delicious.
I don't know if it's going to come across the mic, but we'll find
That's fine. You've got to make some noise, and we're just going to have to roll with it.
Can't ask you to be quiet.
I can actually turn down your mic, Milton. That's what I can do. Look at this. There we go. It hasn't made any difference at all. Yeah, that's just Milton gone. I'll leave it on and we'll just see what happens.
That's fine. I quite like the sound.
So what does your son talk about when he remembers the cannelés? He talked about cannelés quite a lot this morning. He said that he would remember the cannelés.
Who would, sorry? Soren. Yeah. Oh, I don't know what he likes about them, but he says to me quite often, can you get Milton to make those cannelés? Yeah. And I'll tell you something else kind of funny about the kids.
Yeah.
We've been taking photographs of them, panorama photographs, because this sounds completely not related, but it is. And if the children are moving when you're doing a panorama photo, they can get all kind of cut up.
Yeah, and
sort of
weird.
Yeah, they're all in little, there's an arm over here and a leg over there and stuff like that. And they think that's hilarious.
Yeah.
And the other day they asked me to do the pan forte photos for them. So funny. Yeah, and so now they call it the pan forte photo.
That must be so cool being a kid growing up around food and people who love food like that. I feel like I got that experience from culture in France, but my parents weren't really involved in food. So you've got kids who are growing up around pan-forte and cannelés.
I suppose, I don't want it to be too intense, my thing, but it kind of is that particular flavour and things like that. But I'm sure they will branch out into whatever they want, So, it is a good thing.
What do you like about cannelé?
Cannelé, I love things that are kind of purist kind of things. Like I like quality and stuff like that. And I suppose, and then, and just knowing like a classic. Like I love a classic done really well. Like we do the Reuben, the Cubano, everything we kind of do, we try and make it the essence of whatever it is. I think the cannoli was just such a standout, random thing that I hadn't really come across before. And, and then just all of those subtle kind of flavours and stuff. I mean, I miss not having them here all the time.
I'll bring some in.
Yeah.
What flavour cannolis you got going at the moment, Corentin?
So this is kind of... I also like the cannoli from the traditional purist point of view. Like, I use beeswax to line the moulds like you did.
Yeah.
And I try and stick to the most traditional recipe possible, and it's always rum and vanilla. But criminally, for Christmas, I'm going to use Contro instead of rum. I'm going to use some orange zest and just infuse the milk with some like Christmas spices like star anise and cloves and cinnamon. So it's going to be Christmas flavoured.
Yeah.
It's really uncharacteristic for me to take a traditional recipe and mess with it. I don't love to do it, but I'm actually quite excited to create something new, and I don't know, like it's another way for people to experience the same treat, and I think that's exciting.
I mean, you're like real good with flavours. It's just
I try.
I'm sure it'll be in the ballpark somewhere.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. But just don't tell any French pastry chefs that that's what I'm doing, because I don't think they'd be into it.
No, but,
I just always see a flavoured cannoli on Instagram or something and I cringe, But
Yeah.
now I'm going to do it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It'll
I
be
don't
fun.
know what that is about. Yeah, I suppose we just like to... Yeah, but then once we get involved, we realise, hey, it's actually... Maybe we're just a little bit afraid of the people doing something different. And especially when you see it done poorly,
Yes.
you don't want to
Yeah.
associate yourself with it.
That's
Yeah,
it.
But it can be done well.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
the flip side is why master a base traditional recipe if you're not going to use that knowledge to build on it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You can
Yeah.
only take a
Can
traditional
you
recipe.
can you buy cannoli like in France? If you're walking through the supermarket, can you just buy a pre-mixed box of cannoli mixture?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I think they're actually still quite specialised in France. I think only patisseries and a few bakeries have them, from my experience.
Yep.
And the first place I found them was actually a specialty cannoli shop.
Right.
And they did every flavour under the sun. They actually did savoury cannolis. So they would use isomalt instead of sugar, I think, so that they weren't so sweet.
Yep.
And they would put they had like a Gruyere one, or they'd have things with pancetta or tomato and basil. And
Wow.
they were cool. They
Yeah.
definitely weren't my favourite.
Yeah,
But they
'cause
were cool.
I wonder when that came in.
Yeah, I think it still hasn't. I've got a book that was published in 2000 that's cannoli recipes.
Right.
But it's just all traditional flavours, rum and vanilla, from different pastry chefs, rather than heaps of different variations.
Are you're using vanilla beans? Because what did we
Vanilla
start
beans.
using, Milton? We started using
Tonka
beans.
Yeah.
Tonka beans.
Which is really cool.
Oh, the tonka bean time.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty hard to break them down.
Yeah.
But they do the job. They're pretty good.
Yeah. But it's not, it doesn't taste like vanilla. It's
No,
like
it
its
doesn't.
own cool flavour. Yeah. I do like tonka bean. I'm using fresh vanilla beans.
Yeah.
I just think, in terms of vanilla, if you want it to taste like vanilla, there's no substitute. And we're really lucky in New Zealand. We've got Hey Lala, which are an amazing vanilla
That's right.
company.
Yep.
And so they're known around the world, and we have access to them right here. So for me, that's a really cool opportunity to show off that product. Yeah, but I do like the tonka bean. I think tonka bean
I
has
haven't heard that product, Corentin. What was that?
Hey Lala vanilla. They're quite common. Like, you'll probably have a tube of essence somewhere or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's the white and pink packaging.
Yep.
So it was a company started to support the Kingdom of Tonga after they had a natural disaster.
Oh, cool.
And so they
Gee.
started it, from my understanding, I have to fact check this, they started the company in New Zealand to help Tonga, get some funds across by selling the vanilla across and processing it in New Zealand. So I think it's cool. It's quite charitable. It's run by a family, and it's right in New Zealand, and people all over the world love to use those beans. So we're pretty lucky.
Yeah.
You're cool.
Yeah.
And it's cool that it came out of a disaster or whatever.
Totally, yeah.
Often innovation and stuff, it kind of pushes people a little bit further, right? That tonka bean we used, I remember there was some kind of random fact about feeding it to sheep.
I think it's a little bit poisonous.
Yeah. You only needed to...
It wasn't very much there.
No.
It's like 2 beans will kill a goat or something.
Yeah. I wonder why they used a sheep or a goat as
I think that's
like
probably...
its measuring rule.
I guess it just happened and it's like, what?
Yeah.
Observation.
The observation.
But I think tonka is illegal in the States now or something because of that.
Be.
Yeah.
I think that's true.
Well, I think it's an awesome flavour. And it's the new vanilla in France. I see a lot of patisseries will bring out a lot of new products, but in tonka flavour, which I think is quite cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in its own right, it's creating its own thing rather than vanilla.
Rather than being a substitute.
Yeah. And whereabouts are you working from at the moment? Like, where's your kitchen set up?
I've got a kitchen on Tuam Street.
Oh, right.
Which I was really lucky to find through Rod at Base Pizza, Wood Fire Pizza. So they have a development called Tuck Kitchens. It's just a huge warehouse full of commercial kitchens that people lease out. And so he's got a pizza place there. And I met with him. He wanted to show me the building. And I said, look, I got to the point where I looked at so many kitchens, I thought the more honest I am, the easier it's going to be to just rule yes or no's out. And so I said, look, I don't need a lot. I just need it to be quite cheap at this stage because I'm just trying to get this off the ground. He ended up going, yeah, that's fine. We've got a bench space and a bit of fridge space and you can just lease that and see how you go.
Yep.
And so I was really lucky to find someone like Rod who, I mean, it really helped me out. It's so hard to find a kitchen that isn't going to cost you your business. So that you can just get started. And we talked a lot about kitchens and, you offered up this space, which is really kind. But then how much do I want to work at bringing stuff in, making it, and then taking it out? And
true.
The harder you make your job, the less sustainable it is, right?
Yeah, what starts off, you think you can make the exception, but it becomes a hassle. That's cool. I haven't even heard of that. And that's what happens. Like, we haven't seen each other for such a long time, and like, you just don't even know about places like that.
Yeah.
You just don't even know they exist or people actually doing stuff.
Absolutely.
You sort of, the whole bubble thing has become like the
bubble
bubbles.
work as well at home.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to pop because, you can just get so caught up in life.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
that's fascinating. So how many other people share the space?
So I'm the only one who shares, I share it with the rest of the kitchen. So I'm there early morning and they're usually there from midday onwards. Mm-hmm. So they use my bench when I'm not there, and I use it when they're not here. So it works out really well.
And pizzas are being made there, like in the same kind of location.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just they actually bought the kitchen next door to put a walk-in fridge, and then I kind of have the other half, which is quite a transient space. People come in and out of the walk-in fridge. And I just have the bench next to it.
Oh, classic!
But it's the perfect setup for me at the moment. I really love it.
Flip, and there must be a lot of like cool talking and stuff, and
it's really cool. I mean, everyone there loves pizza and loves what they do, and I'm really into pizza. And, it's kind of it's been a really cool point of view into the hospo scene because I feel like I'm not really deep in hospo. I don't work restaurants and I work by myself. And, I don't really have as much as I collaborate.
Yes.
I don't feel like I'm part of that hospo culture as much.
Yeah.
But it's quite cool to get an insight of that through the kitchen that I share.
Yeah, that's interesting. They say, relating it back to bringing up children, quality time. You can't really plan quality time. It's one of those things that just you have to spend time. You have to be there at times when you think it's not going to be quality time, and often little things arise out of that. And with hospitality, when I've worked at it all my life, and there's been so many good times, but it's just that daily kind of monotony, I suppose, to a certain degree. But then there's all this stuff just kind of flourishes out of it.
Yeah, and it's definitely about like being present in that moment. It's so easy to get swept away by being busy. Yeah, because we're all busy.
Yep.
But if you can actually kind of simmer in what you're a part of, then you start to get those really cool moments and conversations going.
Yeah. There has been some good. There was for a wee while there was a trend to pop up this, that, and the other. Yeah. And it was all pop.
Yeah, it was. It really was. I think there's still a bit of that going on, which I really like. But I think people now are less welcoming to like unpredictable events. I think people now want to know what's going to happen in advance, and they want to know what they're going to get out of it. And,
Yeah, true.
I think just they want to know that it's definitely going to happen.
Because we had the earthquakes, and that kind of spawned a lot of that kind of creativity.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like totally like under our control or anything, but it kind of happened, and then it tailed off.
Yeah.
COVID is kind of, I suppose, it's sort of something similar in that it's kind of happened. People kind of trying to deal with it in the way that they can, and people are now getting more creative, perhaps, to work around it.
Yeah.
In a sense, yeah.
Yeah. I think what happens with those traumatic events is you get all these people who are really passionate and who are really enthusiastic and creative. They suddenly don't have an outlet when they don't have a job to go to, or they don't have an outlet to, supply.
Yeah, and maybe they think, time's short. I've only got 3 months before I die of COVID.
Yeah, absolutely.
I better do something.
I better actually do something I want to do.
Yeah.
Well, that's definitely what spawned my business. It was after the first lockdown.
Yep.
And I lost my job, and I was like, cool, I actually spent all of the lockdown working out what I wanted to do if that happened. So now I guess I just have to do it.
That's incredible. So what... Oh, yeah. But then there was a transition stage, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah, so I was really reluctant to start my own business because my goal when I finished pastry school a couple of years ago was to go overseas and get some experience.
That's right.
That's all I wanted to do.
Yeah,
I was really trying to leave the country. And it's quite common for Kiwi chefs.
You were stalking chefs.
I was messaging people at the Clove Club in
But
London,
the cool thing was they were replying, and they were like,
I definitely got a couple of offers, and I actually got a visa and was ready to go to London. And then the lockdown happened, and other reasons as well. I'm actually really glad I didn't go for that particular job, but it just was... I just wanted to get more experience because someone actually said something really valid to me. They said, look, when you finish school, go work for other people before you start your own business.
Right.
Burn other people's cakes, Like, like work somewhere where you've got a controlled environment, you're working for someone else. If you burn something, it's not a direct cost on your margins. And, And so that's why I was so reluctant to start. And I felt really inexperienced, and I still do. I still don't have a lot to compare my food to. I just kind of go off... my things are made from 100 recipes that I've read, and I'll put something together. So I don't feel like I'm directly copying, but I'm definitely only inspiring from chefs that I admire, and so I can't even compare it to their original dishes because I haven't tried them. So it was, but COVID made it very clear to me that I wasn't going anywhere. Or I could have, but it would have been very difficult. So I just decided, look, I'm just going to start my own business, and now I'm learning a lot, which is fantastic. But I do still really miss learning from others because this croque en bouche thing is a perfect example. I'm trying to build this tower out of caramel, and I just wish, instead of having to make 3 that are going to collapse, I could just have someone say, hey, I've been doing this for 30 years. This is how I do it. That would make life so much easier. Yeah,
that's the not the easy path, but it's the I don't know. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Other people's experience.
Constantly having to cut through that new ground and stuff and learn from scratch is hard. It's hard on everything. Like financially through to emotionally and mentally.
Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely correct.
You'll deliver it and just burst out in tears.
I don't want to look at it again ever.
And they'll be like, but it's perfect. You'll be like, it's broken me.
It might be, but I am not anymore.
That's good. That's brave that you're out there embracing that kind of thing, because I don't think it ever gets easier, and I think there's I don't know whether it's an illusion or whatever, but we think maybe the more we go on, the more we experience, and the more time passes, we will naturally get braver, or we'll naturally get something or other, but often it doesn't happen.
I know.
We're still kind of thinking, crikey, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I do think about
not
that.
Not 100%. We do know what we're doing. But
the thing is, the more you focus on one thing, is like, for example, the cannoli, the more I do that, the more I'm like, oh yeah, I'm really good at cannoli. But I haven't grown in other aspects, It's like, it doesn't make me a better accountant, or it doesn't, like it's just whatever you choose to focus on, it can get very specific to what you're good at.
Oh, man.
I guess we just get better at that process of jumping in. It's like, oh, I'm jumping into this new thing again. I don't know what I'm doing, but I kind of know the process of it, and you sort of work your way through.
Totally.
So I guess you just get better at that process.
Yeah, and I admire that a lot from people like artists and things like that, where you're right. It's not just about mastering a paintbrush. It's about like getting better at trying new things or drawing inspiration from different things and getting into that process. And
like you said before, you're like, follow your instincts when you're making the canalese in this case, but whatever, it'd be the same for Broken Bush.
Yeah.
You'll work out your way to make it real awesome.
Yeah.
And you'll set that little twist that's the way that you do it.
And I think that's what I like about not learning from others is most of the recipes I have, I can really say that I developed them myself. Like, sure, I read a recipe, but then I really worked out how to do it myself. Anyone who's read a recipe book knows that those are not the original recipes that people are using. So you take quite a basic recipe with very few steps in the method, and now I've turned them into my own technique and used my own ingredients, and I really feel like I've created my own recipes, which is a reward.
I know you did that with the Madeleines.
Yeah.
Where you're making the big guts on
Yeah, trying to get those huge domes.
You work out how to do it.
Yeah, and that was a lot of trial and error, and I do love that, and that's that's why I started butter, is to do crazy stuff like that no one else is going to pay me to do.
Yeah, nobody's going to go, I'm going to try and work it out myself.
Yeah.
You've already done that, and that's it's the service that you're providing.
Yeah, totally.
And that you need a fierce kind of independence and stuff, and with that comes pros and cons.
Yeah.
So, but it's far out.
It's getting the balance as well. When it's like, man, I really can't work this out, and so you go and get help.
Yeah.
Somebody who knows.
That's true. Balance.
People are so helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're like really keen to help you out and see you succeed.
I agree,
It's really
and
cool.
that's really how my business started, is just with the help of 100 people, because I think I decided to do something I was really passionate about, and when people see that you're driven by passion, then they're more than happy to help, if I was out there just to make a buck, then I definitely wouldn't be getting any help from competition.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They totally pick up on that vibe. And
Absolutely.
It excites them.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It's one of the reasons for being alive, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Here's a menu, Corentin.
Oh, fantastic.
You can order some breakfast at
delicious.
some point.
I'm so excited.
We can crack that out. Wow. How fascinating. That's cool, Corentin, hearing where you're at and things.
Yeah.
It's been ages since I've been in here kind of full time and sort of caught up with you properly.
Yeah, I know, and it's been a while since I've been in here as well. Just after the lockdowns, I kind of locating to a different kitchen and living in a different space means that it's funny, you just have these little like pockets in a city, right? I always think about when they say people in New York live in about 4 blocks and don't really leave the 4 blocks.
Right.
I think that works on smaller scales too, right? You create your own little pattern and routine.
Yep.
And it actually has a geographical mark on a city that you live
Yeah.
in. We don't all use all of Christchurch.
No. Yeah. And it doesn't need to be like 9 million people or whatever. It can just happen in.
But those pockets definitely change. And I still like to come here every now and then, but it's like now it's slightly further out of my little bubble, so it's more of a special treat. But it definitely doesn't change the treasured days that I have in here, because I basically set up butter out of this place. You guys know that. I used all your Wi-Fi to start my business.
Yeah.
Which was great, and you guys are so accommodating, and I really love the space that you've created for people to set up, and I hope this podcast really gets across how much of a community you have built, because I think I'm not the only one who has started something out of here, and I really love it.
Yep. No, we're just hoping that it just pushes more stuff out there, and I don't know, we just talk and...
Yeah, I remember when you were coming in, you were still in your last year at Polytech.
Yeah.
And you're so passionate with it. You could tell straight away it's exactly what you will be doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think studying as an adult definitely was better than when I went and studied when I was 18. I went to art school when I was 18 because I thought I wanted to be a graphic designer.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to be an artist because I was creative, but I also had to make money. So like I had to be graphic design. And I was passionate, but I think I was more driven by external factors.
Yep.
And I think if I just went into the fine arts course, I would have done really well because all I wanted to do was get some creativity out.
Yes, true.
But as an adult, having gone to work full-time and gone through a couple of different career changes and then going, I'm going to go study pastry, it wasn't because I didn't know what I didn't want to do, or I definitely was driven to do it, and so that passion was there.
Those career changes are pretty tough as well. But that is also that independence, you know?
Yeah, and it's that whole growing from experience thing.
Yeah. Because far out.
You said you've always been in hospo, but you've like done t-shirts, you've done Sammy bags now, you've done a bit more than just hospo as well.
That is true, but...
I mean, you were ahead of the curve, Dave, if you're doing the organic t-shirts in the 90s.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was cool, eh? You worked out how to do the dyeing process.
Yeah, that is quite complicated, and it wasn't... That was a good example of getting obsessed with something, but it not quite coming together and not having all of those skills and things. And I don't know what really went wrong. Maybe it wasn't in the 90s. It was sort of the earthquake kind of period.
Oh, yeah.
I probably started researching it back then.
So,
Yeah.
20 years ago.
Time flies, Milton, when you're having fun.
You learned a new word out of it, mordant.
Oh, mordate. Yeah, that was just a common everyday word. I'd use that 5 times a day.
What does that mean?
I've got to mordate the blah, blah, blah. That's just a process where it means to bite.
Oh, cool.
To bite.
Oh, yeah,
and it's on a molecular level, it's just attaching the colour molecules to the fabric, right?
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So because normally cotton or wool won't hold on to it, so you've got to create a one in the middle to grab hold of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Sounds crazy, but I
Word I learned from you. So.
mordate. Yeah, there was some interesting kind of dyes as well, like really old stuff that have been around for thousands of years, like madder root, and there's cochineal from insects.
Yeah.
Also,
Is that red?
Yeah. That's the real royal kind of red that they use, and obviously indigo and weld is yellow, woad is blue, and different things. So there was
cool.
just such a massive area, and I couldn't. I don't know. I kind of got there, but I couldn't translate it into. Make money. I couldn't monetize it.
It was the business part, right?
Yeah.
It's all well and good to be passionate about something, but then...
Yeah, and I read this book called, I think it was Ripples from the Zambezi, and it was about the 3 parts of a business, like the financial side of it, the marketing side of it, and the product side of it, like the creative kind of product side, and saying that very rarely... He was trying to abolish the myth of the sole trader.
Right, okay.
Which is kind of what we're both doing. Sorry, Corentin.
Yeah, sorry. I was just going to step out.
But, so that book just abolishes you.
If only it was that simple.
Yeah, no, but it does. It certainly... It's not to say that it can't be done. I know I just said abolish, but...
No.
But it's difficult, and it was talking about that collaboration and often finding people in the community doing something amazing, but being held back by some of those other areas.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's and that kind of magical kind of connection between them all and how it kind of works, and there's timing. There's all sorts of things.
There's luck,
but
there's luck as
that's
well.
Right.
Like luck is such a huge part of our lives that I think is like just not considered enough. I think, sometimes you just have to get a bit lucky and things go forward. I definitely feel lucky. And I think sometimes you just don't get that luck at the right time, and things just that could normally go well just don't.
Yeah.
I think you're right about that. It's definitely an under recognised quality.
Yeah, 100%.
That happens or doesn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I was reading about No, not reading. I heard it on a podcast, and this is going to be wildly inaccurate, so stop me in my tracks if I go wrong. But someone was talking about luck, and he was saying a lot of pro hockey players, for example, he was saying like something like 40% of successful pro hockey players were born in June. And so there's that, because the way the school cycles, you know, they're a bit older than all the other kids in their year, and then they do well at hockey, and they get pushed forwards, and then they become pro players. And so a huge part of their careers, maybe 40% of it, is the luck that they were born in that particular month.
Yes.
So luck, whether we acknowledge it or not, plays such a huge part. And so I just try and like feel as lucky as I can, because I definitely don't think I just worked really hard and it happened. I think there were many other factors.
Yeah. And you can't wait for the luck to appear. You've got to be doing stuff.
Yeah.
And then maybe
catch it in your sales, you know?
Yeah. You're
totally.
already kind of halfway there, and it's sort of bingo.
Yeah. You know, when you're passionate and you've got that bit of spark, I think luck can find you as well.
Oh, yeah.
Or grim and just sort of by the side of the road where you've got to come along. So.
Yeah, I read The Alchemist when I was having a bit of like a crisis in my business. I had my first day about 6 months ago where I was like, man, I don't want to go to work.
You read the book?
Yeah, the book.
Oh my gosh. I read that type of thing a long time ago when I was young.
It's basically a kid's book, right? But it's kind of presented as a juvenile story.
Is it?
Yeah, it's pretty simple.
I didn't notice that.
I read it in an afternoon, you know? But it has some really cool little life lessons tucked into the journey of this kid, and I just thought I wanted to read it to chill out.
Is this the book written by Paul Coelho or someone? Yeah. Right.
But one thing that really, one of the themes that transpired for me was that if you are passionate about what you do, the universe just will conspire to help you. And I think that's kind of true. If you find out what you truly, truly, truly want to do, and you just go for it, I feel like things just, when I started Butter and I knew that's what I wanted to do, things just fell into place like they've never fallen into place before.
Right.
And things that seemed really hard turned out to be really easy. Or things I couldn't do, I just somehow got help with, you know? And I think...
It's serendipity. Is that
absolutely.
possibly? Yeah.
I think I just... Yeah, whereas before I've tried to like contrive small businesses or like do things that weren't really in my nature, and it just did not fall into place the way that this did. And so I definitely think following your true passion really, really pays off. I think people sniff it out and people want to help that kind of stuff. And
But when you're talking about it, it just seems blatantly obvious.
Yeah.
And like, why would you do anything else? But of course we don't do that.
Yeah. And it takes a long time.
Yeah, most people don't.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about it, man, it's obvious.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you had a look at the menu there?
Yeah, I actually have real nostalgia for the granola. I really want it. Do you have enough to make the granola?
Yep.
Are you sure?
It's all good.
I'd love some granola. Thank you. Thank you so much.
What sort of milk would you want with that?
Just oat milk?
Yep, oat. Cool.
Yeah, brilliant. Yes.
A wee bit of the regular hospo chat.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I think that's what attracted me to this place, was that form of like that purism that you talk about. It's like I just like knowing if I get eggs on toast, it's just going to be really good eggs on really good toast. It's not going to be, you know, you don't need to do any like little cocktail umbrellas and shit. It's just going to be what it is, and I love that. Yeah. Milton
nails all of the classics pretty well. He's got it down. The scrambled eggs.
About pink umbrellas yet,
we?
Oh yeah, we could.
We'll talk about that today.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll come back?
Little blue ones?
Yeah.
With the yellow hollandaise.
Yeah.
Like one over each egg.
Yeah, we can do it, Milton.
Yeah,
anything to keep you happy.
We'll get something. That's fantastic.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, because when I look at Pilgrim, I don't always see myself in it as much as I would have liked it to have been, which isn't 100% negative, because I think maybe it wouldn't have been as good if it was more kind of me. But I know the designer, just from an aesthetic point of view and stuff like that. Yeah. I had a dream about it the other day, actually. I had a dream that all of the tiles had been ripped off the walls.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, now's my chance. I can replace those tiles that have been driving me crazy, those white subway tiles.
That's funny.
And because I always wanted like coloured greens and reds and rusty browns and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That kind of more earthy thing. So, yeah.
That's amazing. But I think that's kind of cool, because do you find that you start something that you're obviously passionate about and then it kind of just becomes its own identity?
Well, this in itself is moving. Because I went and saw what do you call them, a life coach. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool.
It's sort of like, it sounds like I went into a tent with a person with a,
like a sweet
what do they call that? Crystal ball.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. And it was just about, breaking down your strengths and your weaknesses and things that energized you and stuff like that.
Cool.
And that was really helpful. And now I still kind of refer back to that. And, so for me to establish this podcast is kind of like, it's more where my passion perhaps is. So more about relationships and having kind of deep, meaningful relationships with people. Because when it's just coffee and hospitality, it's very much every single day. Which is still kind of nice, and you can develop those relationships like we have, right?
Absolutely.
And that's brilliant. But this is taking it one step further.
Totally. Yeah.
So it's scary though.
Yeah?
Man.
Putting yourself out there?
Yeah, because I'm kind of thinking all of the things that I may or may not want to say.
Yeah, totally.
And these days there can be a lot of self-censorship going on.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of walking that line of, And I mean, not that I have outrageous views.
No, but I thought the
but
same
nevertheless,
thing. Like, because yesterday you said, I was like, do I need to prepare for anything? And you said, I don't really have questions or a structure. And I was like, man, okay, so what's my stance on the vaccine? I was like, what are we going to talk? Like,
where are we going to take? Where are we going to go?
If something comes up like that, I know what I believe, but how much do you want to put out there? And
That's
how
right.
much is that? And it was one of my first thoughts, because it's obviously front of mind, right? But then
that's right.
It's in every aspect. There's what you believe, and then there's there's a certain filtration as to how much of that you want to put out.
That's right. Yeah.
Because you can't change how people perceive what you say.
Yeah, and part of this podcast is for people to put out perhaps more than they normally would.
Yeah, cool.
Because, media and stuff like that is just presenting one side of the story. Whether it comes to business, COVID, or anything, basically. So giving people a voice that they... people don't have to talk about the big issues.
Yeah.
Like, we can just, talk about the small things, because they still matter.
Yeah. And I think people relate to people, right? And so I think it's like news and stuff dehumanizes opinions. Yeah. And so it's quite cool. That's why I listen to podcasts, right? You get to hear people's point of view straight up from their point of view.
Yeah.
And they're an individual. So you say, everything they say I take with a pinch of salt, and you kind of just...
Yes. Yeah.
But what's exciting isn't hearing their point of view and what they believe in or how they're politically aligned.
It's just seeing a real person.
Is learning more about one individual person. And learning what drives them and what is cool about them. And I think that's... I'm on board with that. Yeah,
because, that's totally what I feel like it is more about. Like, it's having the opportunity to make mistakes and say things that, because potentially we'll say something and then we'll think something different in 6 months' time or 3 months' time or 1 week time.
Absolutely.
So it's ever kind of changing landscape.
Yeah.
But I feel like, social media and other media, and I know they're just tools, so I don't think they're evil. Yeah. And I think they're awesome tools. But I do think, they just cover a certain sort of spectrum of the whatever communicating to people. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
we don't have to be defined by what we did 2 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
No.
We are evolving beings.
Yeah.
Hopefully in a good way.
Yeah, hopefully for the better.
Yeah, that's right.
But the more we talk about like being inspired, that's awesome. It can help a lot of people.
Yeah, hopefully.
I was just wanting to help myself, but
that's fine. No. I like what you say about we don't have to be defined by what we did 2 years ago. I think that the essential skill that I want to keep for the rest of my life is the ability to change my opinion based on new facts.
Yes.
And when I see someone and I think, man, you're old, it's like mentally, you know, that mentality, I think the point for me where someone gets beyond old is like when they stop changing their opinions based on new evidence or new information. And so I just hope that I can always stay agile in the sense of, this changes my, you know, because your opinion is such a big part of your identity, and I think people are scared to lose some of that identity when they change their opinion about something.
Oh, totally.
And that is quite scary. But if you learn something new and it makes you change your mind, you can't unlearn a new fact, right?
No.
Then you realise your opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. So then,
something else.
yeah, and then align yourself with what that comes with. But I think, that's the skill that Josh, my partner, and I were talking the other day, and we're like, what do you want to, like, you know, at what point do you think you're too old? And that was my one. I was like, when you stop changing your opinion based on new facts.
Were you just talking about that?
Yeah, I can't remember how the conversation came up, but it
over
definitely
breakfast.
was the point. Yeah.
So Corentin,
Yeah, so
when are you too old? When are we too old?
Yeah.
No, that's cool. That's funny. As a teenager, I don't know other teenagers thought this way or not. I'm assuming they did, but you know, you'd often look at your parents and you'd see what they'd have for breakfast every day, and you'd think, I know my mum and dad are the only people listening to this podcast,
Yeah, right, great.
But that, you know, man, you've had that breakfast every day,
Yeah.
how boring or whatever, and, you know, I'm going to be one of these people who are changing it up all the time, mixing it up. I'm never going to have marmalade on toast every morning. Yeah.
But then the world kind of gets you, eh?
Yeah, and look, it's not all bad.
No.
But I do love that idea about moving and changing and stuff like that. We can't not do it. Otherwise, I think we sort of kill ourselves a wee bit.
Yeah.
One of the things relating to COVID that I've recently heard, which kind of applies to this conversation, is like science. There's a phrase that has sort of popped up recently that we're just going to follow the science. We're following the science and stuff like that. And that's kind of cool. It kind of makes sense because we know that science does change. But one of the things this author pointed out was science doesn't provide a path. It doesn't tell you what to do about something. It tells you what something is.
Yeah.
So there's nothing to really follow as such. It's people's opinions and ethics and morals and stuff like that which we follow and we make and we sort of work out. So I think but being and acknowledging that things do change, like facts, new facts arrive, and we don't have to be afraid of them. We can kind of be like, oh yeah, cool.
Yeah, I totally appreciate that.
Corentin, your breakfast is coming. I just have to get exposed in for the...
Oh yeah, no stress, man.
Sweet as. Well, what's the time? We should probably wrap this up. We've been going almost exactly an hour, so...
Oh, wow.
Good timing.
It's all good. Well, yeah, and hopefully we will be able to do this another time.
Yeah, I would love to. Yeah.
And
I feel like we scratched the surface of a lot of different things.
100%.
Yeah. This is the first one, I mean, so we will gradually kind of get into it more and relax and...
Yeah.
Who knows?
It's been very cool. It's my
Sweet.
first podcast, so I loved it.
Cool.
What time do you normally get up for your...
This was pretty average. Like 4:30 I'll get up. I'll definitely be in the kitchen by 5. Anytime soon is a bonus. But I just try and get... Because I share the kitchen, I try and get in early so that by the time people are rolling in at like 10, 12 o'clock, I'm kind of done with most of the big jobs. So that I don't get too distracted. So, yeah.
Okay.